Let's be honest. When you hear the word finance, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's this really complex, kind of intimidating world. But what if I told you the very core of finance isn't what we've all been led to believe? Let's dive in.
So that's the big question we're tackling today. We're going to strip away all the jargon, all the complexity, and get right to the heart of it. We're going to reframe finance, not as some set of complicated rules, but as a really powerful way of thinking that honestly, anyone can get their head around.
For most people, this is finance. It's this confusing jumble of stuff, stocks, markets, crazy math, that feels like it's meant only for the experts on Wall Street. It almost feels like it's designed to keep the rest of us out. But that's not the real story.
Okay, here it is. This is the big idea that completely flips the script. Finance is really just about thinking clearly about promises made over time in an uncertain world. See? It's not about memorizing formulas. It's a discipline for clear thinking.
So let's start with a pretty bold claim. Finance isn't actually about money. Seriously, at its core, it's about a whole new framework for making decisions, especially when the future is a big question mark.
We're basically trading in that old, complicated view, the one focused on money, markets, and math, for a new framework that's built on three simple but incredibly powerful ideas: time, promises, and uncertainty. These three things, they are the real bedrock of every single financial decision.
All right, let's dig into that first pillar, time. Before you can even begin to talk about anything else in finance, you have to talk about time. It's the one fundamental constraint that shapes literally everything.
So why is time so important? Because at its very heart, finance is just a tool to move resources across time. Think about it. Whether you're saving for retirement, taking out a loan, or investing in a company, you are always giving up something today with the hope of getting something better back in the future. It's a trade-off between the now and a then that hasn't happened yet. And this is exactly why a dollar in your hand today is always worth more than the promise of a dollar tomorrow. Today's dollar is real, it's certain, you can use it right now, and it keeps all your options open. A dollar tomorrow? Well, that's just an idea. It depends on a whole bunch of things going just right.
Okay, so if finance is all about moving resources through time, what are we actually trading back and forth? And that brings us right to our second pillar, promises.
Now here's a really crucial point to grasp. When you buy a stock or a bond or even an insurance policy, you're not buying a physical thing. It's not like buying a car or a cup of coffee. You're not actually receiving a tangible good.
Which of course leads to the obvious question, if they aren't goods, then what on earth are we all buying and selling?
You are buying a promise. That's it. A financial product is nothing more than a conditional claim on some future outcome. It's basically an if-then statement. It says, if X happens down the road, then you will get Y. The entire value is based on that promise being kept. And, here's the catch. Making promises about the future, that's the easy part. But actually enforcing them across time, especially when things change, that's incredibly hard. This inherent fragility is just baked into the DNA of finance.
This brings us to our third and final pillar, the one that really makes navigating time and promises so tricky, and that is the reality of uncertainty.
We talk about risk a lot in finance, as if the future is just like a roll of the dice, where we know the odds. But the reality is so much deeper than that. The future is truly fundamentally uncertain. The basic rules of the game can and do change in ways we simply cannot predict.
So, this is the crucial distinction to make. Risk is something you can measure, right? Like the odds of a coin landing on heads. You can build a model for it. Uncertainty, on the other hand, is the possibility that the coin might just vanish into thin air or suddenly turn into a bird. It means that complete surprises are not just possible, they are unavoidable.
Okay, so we've got our three pillars: time, promises, and uncertainty. But look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's actually a practical toolkit that you can use right now to think more clearly about any financial decision you ever have to make.
So instead of getting lost in spreadsheets and formulas, just ask these three simple questions. First, how is time going to affect this decision? Second, what is the real promise being made here? And honestly, how strong is it? And third, what happens if the future throws us a total curveball, a complete surprise?
When you start using this framework, the goal completely shifts. It's no longer about trying to master some impossibly complex system or trying to predict the unpredictable. The goal is just to achieve clarity, to really understand the trade-offs you're making in a world that's constantly being shaped by time,
promises, and a whole lot of uncertainty.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Now that you're armed with this new way of thinking, the next time you face a big financial choice, or heck, even just read a headline about the economy, what questions are you going to ask to see things a little more clearly?